let's move on to our landscape. How are we doing for time? Alright, again I'm going to use a 16 by 20 canvas. Alright, let's see. Travis is saying, Nolan, I've done a painting and I got distance in my mountains by painting the way you showed. And thank you for that tip. That's a pleasure, Travis. You're going to learn even more tips now because now we're going to paint some real mountains. So I'll show you even better way of painting them, hopefully. So I'm zipping open a 16 by 20 canvas. You're welcome to use a different size. I'm just using a 16 by 20 because it's a convenient size for the video. Sometimes when I'm doing demos like this, I actually go to a little bit of a smaller canvas to save some time. Alright, let's go back to our reference picture and let's see what do we need to do, because when you start the painting, the first thing you need to do is do some drawing, right? So let's go and take a look and see what do we need to draw. Get myself a watercolor pencil so that I can point with it. Alright, I always try and draw as little as what I need to. Maybe because I'm a lazy bugger, I don't know. Alright, let's take a look over here. There's nothing really in the sky. These clouds in 2 minutes could be at a different place, so there's nothing there to draw. What I would want to draw here is these little outlines of the mountains, just to get a placement of them. And again, I don't know these mountains from a bar of soap. It's not of some famous place, so I'm not going to try and get them perfect, just draw them more or less. What I am interested in is you'll see the front mountain is higher, back mountain lower, and the far mountain is even lower as well, just to get my linear perspective correct. So that I will do. And I quite like this little valley feel over here, so that you can sort of peep through it. It's almost like you can fly through it, and it almost looks like the sun is sort of just, the rays of light are just zooming through that little valley over there. So I quite like that. Definitely make sure I keep that valley there. Alright, and then you'll see I've put the boat on the thirds. Remember that when we did the composition? So there's my thirds like that, and there's my thirds like that. So you see my boat is exactly where it needs to be, because the boat is my focal point. So I suspect today what we're going to do is we'll do this drawing, then we should get to finish up the sky, and then next week we can do the bottom half of the painting. Now another thing that we need to really look out for, which is super important with this painting, is the water. Whenever you're doing water like this, water lies horizontal, right? So you've got to do the same thing in your painting. So notice how this line over here is absolutely horizontal, running across there. So you'd physically have to measure on each side of your canvas to put that in. The only time it won't be horizontal is, let's say this mountain over here is curving around to, maybe there's a bay or something like that. Then this piece here would curve around like that. But anything that's far away, it's going to be absolutely horizontal. Check on any photograph and grab a ruler and check it, and you'll see that's just the way it is. We try and stick to the way nature does things. Alright, so I think let's dump that palette and grab another one. I hate cleaning palettes. I don't know if you feel the same way. It's one of a pet peeve of mine. You'll find I've got about 5 or 6 different palettes, and then I paint them, until they're all chockers, and then I have to sit one day and scrape off the whole damn lot of them. I hate cleaning a pallet. Some people hate certain colors and stuff like that. Me, I just hate cleaning pallets. Alright, so let's get this little sample out the way, and let's start drawing our mountains. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my thirds. So it's around there, 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 and there. So what I'm interested in is just getting that little box, that inside box. So there's my little box. I've drawn it quite light. You probably can't even see it. That's fine. I know my boat is going to be around that area over there. So my horizon line is a little bit higher than that. I'm going to make sure he's not dead center, so I'm going to put him somewhere in between where the boat goes and the center of the painting. And for that, I'm going to use a nice long ruler. And that's where my steel rulers come in quite handy. So if I want the bottom of my mountains to end up over there somewhere, I'm going to quickly measure it. So I've got about 18 centimeters. So I'm going to measure 18 centimeters on the one side and 18 on the other side. And I'm going to draw a line right across the painting. Again, I'm drawing mine really dark because I want you to be able to see it on the video. You would normally draw it as light as what you can. Okay, so then we've got some mountains coming up, something like this, like that. Maybe that ends over there. And then we've got another mountain that's coming out over there, something like that. And here we had a valley like that. And then we had another little mountain just peeping his head out over there. Okay. Now I'm going to take my masking tape and I'm going to tape this little line over here closed. I think what we can do as well is let's bring this guy slightly forward. So let's do that. We give him a little bit more distance there. Okay, and I'm going to draw my line, and that'll just let the guys with their boats be able to sail in between those mountains over there. So now I'm going to take my masking tape and I'm going to put it on the line to make sure that after I've painted my sky and my mountains, I've got an absolutely perfectly straight line. Where's my knife? Let's get rid of that one. There we go, and that's all the prep work we need to do this painting. Now notice I haven't drawn in the boat, because remember we start painting from the back and we work our way forward, so I'm going to have to paint all this water here before I can get to the boat. So I'll either just as I need to just paint him in by eye, or if you're not confident in the end of the day to just paint him in by eye, then you'll leave your water to dry, then you'll draw him on, and then you'll paint him. To draw him in now, you're going to paint him closed anyway, so it'd sort of be a pointless exercise. Cool. Now, with the sunset, let's get our little reference picture again. With the sunset, what happens is you've got that glow, and it's that glow that we want to create. Now, the big mistake that the guys make there is here's your sun. Now you've got that glow, and you know it's sort of glows around like that is the guys do definite bands of that glow using the different colors. And the minute you do that, it looks absolutely unnatural, and I'm going to tell you why. The sky itself, let's say there's absolutely no clouds in the sky. The sky itself is flat. It's a perfect dome, okay? So there's no imperfections, there's no little light patches and darker patches or anything like that. It's smooth. So what happens with the sky is at the top, you're looking straight up. You'll find that the sky is darker, and as you're looking down to the horizon, it gets lighter and lighter. Now, there's two reasons for that. The first one is when you're looking straight up, you're around the Earth, you've got your ozone layer, right? So if you're looking straight up, you're looking through so much of the ozone layer. Now, if I curve it like that, maybe I should get a piece of paper and draw it. Then it'll make even more sense. Okay, so here's the Earth, like that. And now here's our ozone layer around it, like that. Not very even, but that's close enough. See, if I look straight up, I'm looking through just that little amount over there. If I'm looking at the horizon, look at that huge amount of atmosphere that need to look through before I get to deep space. See, here it's all black in deep space, right? So that's why when you're looking up, you've got less of the atmosphere to look through, and that's why it's darker at the top and lighter at the horizon. That's one reason. The second reason is our little lace curtain effect that we chatted about in lesson number 1 and number 2. And that is, you've got more and more dust and pollution and pollen on all those goodies looking over that longer distance there as opposed to that shorter distance there. So that's why you've got lighter at the horizon. So if you do your background or your sky itself with distinct bands, it doesn't look natural because the atmosphere itself is smooth. So keep that in mind. We need to do absolutely perfectly smooth shadings. So constantly, while you're doing your sky, stand back and check that you don't have any lines. Alright, now let's look at a few different colors that we need. In the sky, I see some lighter, almost like a baby blue over there. Here is just slightly off-white, just a touch of yellow in it. Here I've got some purpley colors. There's a definite pink. There's a definite yellow. And here by the sun itself, it's spider white. So we're going to need to mix up these colors. We're going to have to mix up at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colors in the end of the day for us to be able to do the sky. Now all those colors are pretty light. So when I'm mixing the color, I look for what's the majority color in the mix. And in most of them, it's white. So I'm going to squeeze out a whole ton of white.
This is a very good explanation of ozone and lattice effect. Don't forget to mention what happens in looking in the opposite direction of the sun.
All right, Kelly says, a very good explanation of ozone and lattice effect. Don't forget to mention what happens looking in the opposite direction of the sun. Okay, if you're at a sunset, you're looking at the opposite direction of the sun, it's going to be really dark, right? So, yeah, what more can I say?
You won't get that glow effect.
No, you won't get a glow effect.
More even.
Yes, Dennis is telling me you won't get a glow effect, which is quite right. I'm just trying to think of... It's quite bizarre. When you see a sunset, you never look behind you, do you? You actually have to think, what the heck do you see? But yeah, it can get quite, when you're looking at a sunset right above you, it can get really, really dark really quickly. Alrighty, so I'm using some cerulean, some cadmium yellow, and some alizarin crimson. Kelly, you get a silhouette when you're looking into the light, not away from the light. Okay, so let me show you my palette. Do a bit of juggling here. Alrighty, I think maybe what we can do is, maybe I can put them next to each other. Guys, I've purposefully not given you a reference picture. There's method behind my madness. I don't want you to run ahead of me and go and finish the whole paintings. I know how it goes. You get really over eager and then you complete the painting, and then what happens is you miss out on all those little essential techniques and the things I'm trying to teach you. You miss out on them because you've now finished yours, and then you think, oh, what the hell, I'll do all those little things next time, but by the time you get to next time, you've forgotten them. So I've purposefully not given you a reference material. Alright, so let's start on one end and we work our way towards the sun. So there I've got my majority color is white, so I'm going to take some white and I'm going to add some cerulean to it. If you haven't got cerulean, you can use French ultramarine. It's fine. It just won't be as baby blue as this. It'll be a little bit more.
French ultramarine with a little touch of iridium.
Okay.
Get the similar effect.
Dennis is saying if you take your French ultramarine, you add a touch of iridium to it, you're going to come very close to a cerulean. So there you have it. I find the viridian can be very overpowering, so just go easy when you're using viridians. Notice how I'm adding a little bit of paint at a time. Remember, I can add more paint, but I can't take any out. So easy does it. After you've added paint a few times, then you soon get a feel for how much lighter or darker it's going to go. I think that should do the trick. I'm reasonably happy with that color now. Let's wipe off the knife. And let's move to the next one. The next one in is sort of seems to be that color over there, which is white. Well, there's actually a lot of that there, so you know what, I'm going to use all that white there, and it's just got a touch of cadmium yellow in it. Now again, your white will quickly change color, so just use tiny amount of yellow. We don't want to go too intense here with our yellow, because otherwise, when we mix our yellow and our blue into each other, they're going to turn green. And I don't think we want a grassy green sky. I don't think that's going to look too good. So I'd rather keep them a little bit too light. Then when we move closer to the sun, we'll intensify them as we go down there. So that's really just off-white, that one. Let's get some more white on the palette. Our next color down, let's maybe move to here is, let's do that next yellow one over there. So that's a more intense. Let's get a nice big ball of yellow, white there. There's not too much of that bright yellow, so let's maybe just put on, say, that amount over there, and add some more yellow to it, this time more than the previous one, obviously. It's this yellow here that's going to give us that lovely sunny glow. Yeah, I think something like that should be okay. Our next one is this pinky color over here. Now you'll find that when you're mixing pinks, the cadmium red just never does the trick. I've really found a pink that works well by mixing it with a cadmium red. I tend to use alizarin crimsons and rose madder, those type of colors. They mix up nice little pinks. Yeah, we're starting to get some nice sunsetty colors here now, eh? Okay, we've got one final one, which is our cloud color, but at this stage we're not worrying about painting the clouds. We first want to get the sky itself, because remember we paint from back to front, so you're first going to paint the sky and then we add the clouds which are in front of the sky. Now all of those there, I've got a nice big area that I need to fill up, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some medium into each one of those, because I don't want to paste my sky on. The sky is nice and soft, so unfortunately I'm going to have to just put the palette down while I'm doing it. I don't want to paste the paint on, I want it to flow, so I'm going to make it not sloppy like we did our background on the tulips, but just nice and creamy. Remember, if you make it too thin, it's going to become stripy and you're going to battle to get your blendings right. Just a nice little mayonnaise-y kind of texture. Kelly, isn't this your first live class that you're attending, or have you been on the ones before and you've just hidden in the background? Great stuff. Oh, is there anybody else that's here for the first time? Give me a holler in the chat box. Let's see who's here for the first time today. Dennis says some people are shy. Guys, you don't need to be shy. I'm sitting on the other side of the world. I promise I won't bite. Nearly done mixing in the medium. When you're mixing these sky colors, feel free to mix way more than what you need, because we're going to use exactly the same colors in the water eventually. So if you've got any extras, it's quite alright. I'm being very careful when I mix these colors because they're lying next to each other and I don't want them to mix. I don't want to contaminate my colors, so I'm being really careful so that they don't come into contact with each other. Now, I want to show you what I'm doing here when I'm wiping off the knife. I'm a bit of a cheapskate. So I wipe off the knife like this, and then I pick up that excess paint. Look how much paint I'm throwing away if I didn't pick it up again. Now you do that every time. Over the course of a painting, you could easily throw away a quarter of a tube of paint. That's just crazy. So I quickly scoop it up and pop it back on the pile. There we go. I think we're all mixed up. I've got a reasonably big background, so that means I need to use a reasonably big brush. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my my pastry brush, my hardware brush. So I'll use this guy over here. Now I've sort of mixed my colors in the order that I've seen them there. So I'm just going to work my way down the palette. Start with a blue, put it down where I see it. Exactly the same as what we did with the tulip. Can I move this in a little bit? So exactly the same with the tulip. I find my little shapes. For the blue, sort of a little triangle there, and a little bit at the top. My light yellow seems to go all this way over here, almost like a boomerang. There I've got a little patch of purple or pink, a little patch of pink there, and a patch of yellow, and a dot of white. So I put them down in the shapes, and then we'll blend them in. So first get your basic shapes correct. Again, you can use your scrubbing or your crisscrosses, whatever works for you. So we'll put some down over there. And we'll put some down over here. Now you'll find that because our sun is over here, this distance and that distance is different, right? So you're going to get gradually darker to that side than you will to this side. So I may actually bring a little bit more blue in or further in than what I did on the left hand side. Maybe something like that. Okay, this brush is giving off hairs like you would believe. There, like that. What I am doing here is I'm just softening up these little edges. I don't want any hard edges in my sky, so from the start I'm softening them out. So that's already giving us a bit of a shading, like that. Okay, so now what you'd want to do is wash your brush. But you don't want the blue and the yellow to mix. We don't want green in the sky. So now I'll pick up the light yellow, and I see it. Okay. So I put in my boomerang shape over here. Like that. And I think while we're at it, we can, there was a little bit over there. While we're at it, we can blend these two colors into each other. So again, very gentle. You can do your zigzags. I'm just using little crisscrosses because it's such a subtle little shading. And don't forget to stand back every now and again to check. Make sure you don't have any of those lines. Lines in the sky is a big no-no. When you get to clouds, that's a different story. On this furthest point over here, I'm adding in a little bit more cerulean into the original mix. I want to just get that a little bit darker because of that distance. That should do the trick there. Alright, so now we can move over to our sun area. So I'm going to wash my brush again. Now when you're doing the sun area on a sunset, there's a definite order that you need to paint it, or you're not going to get that nice, bright, glowing sunlight effect. And the order is to work from the sun outwards and never, ever go back. The minute you lose that bright white of the sun, you're not going to get it back. You have to wait till the whole painting is dry to bring that white back in again. So I'm going to take a small brush and use spider white paint, pure out the tube. I'm not even going to bother thinning it or anything, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to put my sun down over here.
Travis says he's using acrylic paints. Should I spray my canvas with light mist before I start my sky? Good idea.
Travis says I'm using acrylic paints. Should I spray my canvas with a light mist before I start my sky? Travis, for sure. That's going to make your life a hell of a lot easier. Just don't overweight it. Just give it a light little mist, just so you've got some. It's almost the same thing of adding medium to your paint. Very similar. Okay, so I know you're probably not going to be able to see that little area that I've put in there with the sun, but what I've done is I've put it in roughly circular, and I've put it in too big because I can push that back, but with the yellow, but I can't push the white back out again. It'll immediately mix with the yellow around it, and it's gone. Okay, so now I've washed my brush, dried it off. Now I'm going to use my bright yellow that I mixed. And I'm going to put it around it. Again, I'm going to put it too far. Rather too far than too close. See that? Now I'm going to gently come back in and push it in and shape my sun. You have to be really careful when you do this to make sure that you don't lose your sun. So be really careful, and you see what I'm doing is just using very light little flicks. Even if you end up with a bit of a stripy effect there, that's fine. By using this little very light flicky motion, what happens is you get almost like a little bit of a shading going on there. But there isn't big contrast, so you don't particularly see it. It's just that little shading is the glow. So there I've got that. And now I'm going to take my yellow out a little bit further, so I eventually want that to work into the pink as well. I'll take that out a bit further than what I need it again. When I get to the mountains, you see I'm going right over the mountains. I can still see my lines. That's fine. It's more important that I get that overlapping correct between the mountains and the sky. Otherwise my sky is not going to look like it's going behind the mountains. Cool, let's quickly go back to our reference picture so you can see where we're at. So what I've done is I've added this little blue shading in over here. I've added that in over there. And now we've worked this little area in over there. Now we're going to add the pink and then some lovely clouds. Just quickly checking the chat box for you guys. Don't forget, type in your questions. We're constantly checking the chat box. Okay, short stuff saying, I hope I can catch up. Just got home. When will be the rerun? The rerun will be up in about 2 days or so. It's a class like this is a good 6 gig for me to go and upload, and then I still have to just edit it and stuff. Smokey says his acrylics keep drying on him. Yeah, it's a bummer. You must go and get yourself some retarding medium, mate. Then you won't have that problem. Okay, now I'm going to use my pink. And I'm going to pop my pink in the areas where I need to. So I'm going to use it's a reasonable area, so I'm going to use a bit of a bigger brush just to scrub it all in. Again, going over the edges like that. Guys, I see we are slowly heading out of time. So I'm going to do my best to get some clouds because I'd really like to show you guys the clouds today. I'm not pressing hard when I'm scrubbing this in, I'm just giving a light layer onto the canvas. I'm not letting any colors mix. Alrighty, now let's get ourselves some tie in between that yellow and the pink. Now if we go to our reference picture, see this pink is actually clouds. You see that? So we've got the little bit of overlapping over there to give us that cloudy effect. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take a nice soft brush and from inside the pink just drag it into the yellow, and I can gradually push that yellow back as far as I need to because my pink is stronger than the yellow. Every time I drag a piece in, I'm picking up a new paint on the brush. Maybe there's one that's coming a little bit further out over the clouds like that. I think for now that's good enough. Now we can get that to blend into each other. So just a clean dry brush again and soften it up. Just stood on my microphone. Okay, so I'm just blending that in at this stage. I don't want any lines or anything over that because I'm going to add some lovely clouds over there in a minute. Maybe just a touch of pink over there, hey? What the heck, peeping out from behind that mountain. Okay, I think I'm happy with that now. Okay, let's take a look and see what types of clouds have we got. We've got some nice cumulus clouds up there, and here we've got, what clouds are those? Cirrus clouds? Those long, flat, fleecy clouds, what do you call them again? Yeah, it seems like some cirrusy kind of clouds out there. So what we're going to do is we now need to mix that color for that. Now, same as any other time of the day, your sunlight infuses everywhere. The only difference is at a sunset is that our light isn't yellow like normal, it's yellows and oranges and pinks. So we're going to infuse our clouds with sky color. In fact, we're going to infuse this entire painting with sky color, just like it would happen if it was the middle of the day, any time of the day. Let's get that out the way again, and let's go to our palette. Let me show you how you get that cloud color. It's so simple. We know our clouds are sort of pinky, right? And we can take some blue and we pop it into it. And that is going to give us our sky color, our cloud color. What I may need to do is just slightly darken him up just to increase the contrast. But that's all there is to it. So I'm adding touches more of cerulean and crimson just to increase the contrast. To check yourself to make sure you're okay, pick it up flat on the knife like this, and then come and hold it up against your canvas and see if it looks okay. If you hold your knife parallel to the canvas, then you should get exactly the correct lighting and give you a good feel. I often even close my one eye to see if I've got enough contrast there. What I'd like to do is just get it a little bit more intense. So I'm going to add a little bit more crimson and a little bit more cerulean into the mix there. In other words, what I'm doing is I'm knocking the amount of white back. So there's less light, less white in there. I think what we'll do today is we'll do these little cirrusy clouds, and then next week I'll show you how to do the cumulus. Yeah, it seems like a good color over there. Again, I'm going to just give myself a last little check. I've made sure he stayed on the pinky side. I'll actually just leave the palette there, hey? Alright, to do these cirrusy clouds, you need a soft brush. Your normal bristle brushes, they'll work, but they won't work as well. So if you don't have a nice little soft hairbrush like this one over here, then use your normal bristle brush. I just find that these little hairbrushes give you a better effect because clouds are soft, right? So if I've got a soft effect that I want to create, I'll use a soft brush. Just makes sense, right? Alright. So let's go back to our picture and let's take a look. What do these clouds do? So they tend to sort of just drag out and then they'll break up at little areas like that. So we're going to do the same or a similar effect on our painting. So always just take a look and see what does the cloud do, and then try and replicate that on your painting. So over here we've got some cloud over there in this area here. And I'm just giving it a bit of a horizontal streaky effect. Always get clouds coming in and out of your painting as well. That's really important. You want that continuity off the edge of the painting. Very light touch. I'm quite happy to come back in afterwards and add more paint. But I make sure I keep a nice little soft touch. These types of clouds are quite thin, so again we're using that thin layer of paint for a thin cloud. Maybe there it sort of just peters away, it disappears on us, and there we get a little bit more again. Keep them random. Remember the little family stories? Tell yourself little family stories. Build cloud families this time. So you'll find sometimes I'm holding the brush so that I'm doing broad strokes, and sometimes I'm turning it 90 degrees to give me thinner strokes. Again, just to make sure I keep getting variety. Sometimes I'm bridging the gaps between these lines and sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm using longer lines, sometimes I'm using shorter lines. All these little things that you do give you that variety. And keep your clouds looking interesting. Here I'm going to make this cloud go behind the mountain, so I'm going to go way over the line. Remember, when you do paint the mountain, then you know you've got overlap, and that little piece that you've gone over the line would just disappear on you. Again, yeah, I've got something going out the side of the painting, just a little something. That's fine. I think at this point I'm happy with that. So what you need to do now is, your clouds aren't flat, right? They've got dimension and depth to them. So remember, we've got 3 colors for 3D. So because they're so far away, you do tend to lose a little bit of the colors. But I'm still going to bring some other colors in them. So I'm going to take some of my sky color without washing the brush, and I'm going to pick up some of the pink and mix them into each other. And there we go, I've got one more color. So in this painting, the sun is coming from the back. So the bottom is sort of your shadowy area. Here around the middle is going to be middly area, so I'm going to bring in a little bit of this mixed color in between there. Here in these middly areas like this, that's just going to give me a bit of contrast, a bit of depth into those clouds. Don't need to spend too much time on it, just really quick. Remember, we're just doing basic little clouds. It's only a second painting, so. Then, the last thing we're going to do is add that little sparkle onto the cloud, because every cloud has a silver lining, right? So I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow that we had in the sky over there, and I'm going to work a little bit of that on the top edge of each one of these clouds. Like that. Now look how lovely they're starting to just sparkle at us. Every time I've made a line, I'm coming back and then I'm picking up new paint. I want to make sure there's fresh paint on it the whole time. If at any stage you feel your paints are starting to become dirty, rather stop, wash the brush, dry it off. You want to keep this nice and clean color. Also, don't overdo this. Guys also tend to get a little bit carried away. Easy does it, less is more. You just want that little bit of sparkle. It's just started raining here by us. A nice, lovely, rainy day here in Auckland. Okay, so why have I put the highlight on the top and not at the bottom? It's just the angle of the sun. You tend to come up and hit the top. Let me see if I can show you an example. The main reason is because your sun is still coming from the top. Even though he seems low in the sky, he's still coming from the top. And because he's coming from the back, so your highlight is actually on the back edge of your cloud. Just quickly trying to find where I can find you guys an example, so give me a second. You see, even though the sun is lower than that, it seems lower to you because it's just the angle you're seeing it at. The sun is still higher than the clouds, so at the top is where it's getting its highlight. Because let's say the sun was coming from the front, your highlight would have been there, but now it's not. It's on well, it is, but it's on the back. So that's why you've got that highlight ends up on the top. You do sometimes get a bit of you see over here, you can see you do get a bit of a little silver lining there, but you find the silver lining tends to be on the top of the cloud. Again, it's just a case of I like to look at what nature does, and I copy it, because that's essentially what I'm doing when I'm painting. I'm copying nature. Alright guys, I see we're at nicely on 2 hours now. So I'm going to leave my painting at that. Next week I'll show you how to do the cumulus clouds. If you've got one or two more questions, quickly throw them at me. Maybe you can just zoom out, please. If you've got one or two last questions before we shut down for the day, now's a good time to ask them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the kettle on so long. My normal routine. Did the explanation of putting your highlights on the top of the cloud make sense, guys? Nina, I see you were asking about the highlight. You say, Nina says, understand, thanks, so that's great.
Yeah, just explain the time you'll see the highlights under the clouds when the clouds are very much closer to you, and you're seeing it from underneath. The further away you won't.
Deda says he wants to quickly explain something about the highlights on the cloud, so let's give him a gap while I'm making the coffee. I gotta let him have a say. You can't stand there and do nothing the whole day. That's just ridiculous.
All I've been doing is just standing and just watching you paint. Okay, the connection about the clouds. If the cloud is very far away from you, the clouds are much lower in the horizon. The sun will be catching the top. But as it comes closer to you, the clouds rise up towards you in that canopy effect, and then you will start getting the clouds. The sun will be hit under the clouds. Next time you go and have a look, you'll see the closer the clouds to you, you'll see the reflection underneath the clouds. But while I'm just thinking about that, is when Nolan was doing the water drops, must be in about 10-15 years back, I had a student who painted a semi-nude, but it was back from here to about there to there, of this lady. She'd just come out of the shower and the hair was all down, and there was no water drops at all on this, and I said to her, she's come out of the shower, but where are the water drops? But she says, I can't paint water drops. So I went along and I showed her 2 or 3, just like Nolan has done for you now, and I carried on with the students, and I left her because she was painting. There's no problem at all. And when I came back, I tell you what, the whole painting was water drops from the top of her shoulders all the way down the whole painting. And I said to her, Joan, I said, now she has really come out of a shower. She was so fascinated with these drops. And they had the drops from all sizes, She really overdid it. But she could just come out of a shower. They hadn't had time for the water drops to fall off yet. Let's see if there's any other questions come through. Okay, welcome to the screen. Great, Nolan, can't wait till next week. Have a great day. Yeah, thank you. This coffee time again, I can do with that. Hard work working behind the camera. Nolan really makes me work like nobody's business. That didn't go out enough.
No, I just want to
okay.
get us both in the picture.
Yeah, because when I come out from behind the camera, I look at the camera, but then I can't see whether I've zoomed in or out properly.
So what you do is you turn the camera around, the screen around. There you go. And now you can see me and you.
Yes. I should have known that, but anyway, it's one of those things in the spur of the moment.
Yeah, we're okay there. Okay guys, I'm going to just have a quick little look. I don't see any new questions, and we are at the 2-hour mark, so I'm going to say cheerio guys, thanks for being here. It was great fun. I had a good time. We'll see you next week. Good luck painting your clouds and your water drops. Looking forward to seeing them on the forum.
Okay, from my side, till next time.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Hey, Basket TV!